breaking. Well, Asian markets are in freefall this morning, reacting to US President Donald Trump's latest move to slap 104% tariffs on Chinese goods. Hong Kong's Hang Seng plunged over 3% at opening. Shanghai stocks were also sharply lower. Taiwan's market dropped nearly 2%, even after the government announced a $15 billion rescue fund. Japan's Nikkei slid just over 3%, wiping out Tuesday's gains. South Korea's won fell to its weakest level since 2009. Trump's sweeping 10% tariffs took effect over the weekend. Now higher rates for dozens of economies kicked in just after midnight. The US originally added a 34% tariff on Chinese goods, but after Beijing matched it, Trump signed off on another 50%, taking the total to a huge 104%. Markets briefly rebounded this week on hopes of a deal, but optimism faded as Trump pushed forward. On Wall Street, the S&P 500 tumbled again, closing below 5,000 for the first time in nearly a year. Oil has also dropped below $60 a barrel, and in Europe, the EU is now preparing its own retaliation, possibly as early as next week. Well, joining us to discuss these developments is Andrew KP Leung, a Chinese strategist, joining us from Hong Kong. Andrew, I would like to get your response now to these markets that we've seen in trading in Asia. How do you think this 104% tariff on China will impact not just Asian markets, but also the global economy?
Well, I think
we seem to have lost Andrew, so I will bring back in Arvind Mahajan. Arvind, looking at these stocks, we've just spoken there about the decrease that we've seen. Stocks across the board dropping 1, 2, 3, even 4% in the case of oil as well. Is this a trend you think will continue given the stepping up of tariffs we're seeing from Donald Trump's administration?
Well, that is very hard to predict. Having researched financial markets for 45 years, one thing I've learned is never to predict financial markets. They have a dynamics of their own, and they really depend upon what information emerges as we move forward. So at this juncture, it is really unclear where the market's going to be. Now, if I really have to conjecture, I would say that the markets already have dropped significantly. S&P is below 5,000 from 6,100, which it was at one time. So the probability of it going down further diminishes compared to it moving up. But it's certainly not clear that the markets really have bottomed out. I would say, however, that markets are capricious, but they are resilient, and they can turn around very quickly as well. Markets are simply reacting to the information they are getting and how they are interpreting the information. And at this juncture, the information which is coming, the sentiment is quite negative, rightfully so, but the market really still is waiting to ascertain where things are going to go from now. So right now we are in the middle of the game. The game is not done. We are waiting for, as the White House said, there were 70 countries which have contacted the United States. They do want to negotiate with the tariffs because the US market is so big that their economies are going to be hurt very badly. But we don't know how China is going to react. We don't know how other countries are going to react. So we are in a period where things are in flux. Information is emerging. The market is trying to digest this information. A lot of information which is coming is not reassuring, and therefore the markets are going down. However, we don't know if the game completely is over yet and the market has bottomed out completely yet. But I will tell you that seasoned investors, while the markets are full of fear right now, we have this VIX index which measures the market sentiment. And for the first time, it has exceeded a value of 50. So there's a lot of fear in the market. But I do want to tell you that seasoned investors have seen the markets go down and they have seen the markets go back up as well. So this is not the end of the world as far as financial markets go. The question really is, how is the rest of the world going to react to the president's unprecedented tariffs on these countries, and how the US is going to respond to that? And we just don't know that. We don't have that information at this point.
Yes, Arvind, to bring an end to this discussion on the tariffs which are shocking the global economics, I want to bring it back to the real life implications. Of course, markets going up and down. There are economists who, of course, are deeply involved in this. But for the average person living an average life, what does a market crash like the one that we've seen over the past couple of weeks since Trump's tariff announcements, what's the real life impact on everyday people going about their lives?
Twofold things. One, for a lot of people, they see their what we call values of going down.
We seem to have lost Arvind there, but of course the trade conflict, the